It's hard to believe we're in the second part of the school year, and as usual, there's lots of exciting things going on in Riverdale. We're working in the sciences, on sustainability projects, on our exchange programs. What I'd like to start out with, though, is telling you about the Jolly Humanitarian Ward, where we honored a woman, Lema Gboe.
We wanted to name the 910 building after a humanitarian. So kids were asked to make a 5-minute presentation explaining who their nominee was and why they felt this particular character was compelling. This year's winner wrote about Lema Gboe, a civil rights activist in Liberia.
I'm truly humbled. And I also think that that name on that building has renewed my strength, my willpower to fight for what I believe in, fight for peace and justice for women in Africa.
It was particularly touching to see the extent to which kids were individually moved and touched by her remarks. I couldn't have been prouder. It was a wonderful Riverdale moment.
As you all know, diversity and inclusivity are central priorities for Riverdale. We'd like to show you some different ways that we're actually helping broaden our kids' minds.
The Lower School Family Diversity Project consisted of photographs with text explaining each photograph. The photographs show different families ranging from multiracial families, same-sex families, and families with children with mental conditions. Yes, we teach math and writing and reading, but just, to go along with the CARE program and how to be caring and how to be a good citizen, we showed having this project here that we can talk to young children about diversity and that they can understand and learn and be sensitive when they go out in the real world and see these different families.
This year for Community Day, we focused on the theme of gender, and we called it Gender Matters. One of the things we wanted to do is make it very real and very practical to students. So we started off by looking at toy commercials. And then students were able to see for themselves just how girls and boys get constructed in the media. We don't normally sit down and watch commercials back to back to back, but after doing that for about 20 minutes, they often were shocked and horrified.
Entertain your imagination.
Let's do laundry.
One of the comments that I very clearly remember is a girl saying, I can't believe how limited they think our imaginations are, that all we want to do is just keep house and play with dolls. And that's really what we need to talk about, is just the limitations put on imagination by the way gender gets constructed in society.
Being a country school in New York City, we have lots of interesting ways that we can look at the issue of sustainability and teach our students to be great stewards of the earth.
One of the things that we're trying to do with the kindergarten children is to provide them an understanding of their place on Earth and here in our school campus. And so the use of composting, either through worms or with our outdoor composter, is a way for them to actually physically see how they can make an impact by recycling their waste product and then using it back into our gardens.
The compost works by putting food and garden scraps inside the bins, and then it gets eaten by worms, goes through a process of transformation, and turns magically into soil, which is a really cool process to see, but it's equally cool because we use that in the garden beds, which can create new plant growth and bring it full cycle.
Can we do some more digging? Sure. It's so cool.
Worms are very popular in kindergarten. The children love exploring the worms and feeling how wriggly they are and what they look like. And we study the anatomy, so it becomes a real teaching tool. It's a very small way for them to see their role in being both a scientific observer of what's happening, but also being an active participant in taking care of the environment.
Cater to You is new at Riverdale. We're doing the food service here in the upper campus and at the lower school. Our philosophy with Cater to You is to bring sustainability to our food programs in schools. We try to maintain a balance of some organic, some locally grown foods. All those things that we use in all our schools come from reliable sources, traceable sources, all antibiotic-free, all hormone-free, and we have relationships with the people and the farms that produce those items for us.
I'm the head of the Sustainability Committee at Riverdale, which is our environmental activity group. One of our ideas going is a new recycling system at Riverdale. We have these new 4-bin recycling cores, and what we're doing with the returnables or bottles that you can turn in and get a cash deposit is donating it to the school's microfinance group, and they're gonna help donate to green microfinancing to install solar panels in Kenya.
This year we've ratcheted up our science program with a newly remodeled 6th grade science lab. We're also developing all sorts of interesting programs in the science department, and we'd like to tell you about those.
Riverdale has a commitment to interdisciplinary education already, and so we thought it'd be natural to extend that to science and math, particularly calculus and physics, because Newton developed calculus initially just to solve physics problems. And so we are trying to bring them back together and teach them together the way they were initially sort of developed. Yeah, we're getting to some calculus here. This is the good stuff. Kids are also sort of primed for this type of learning. They like the idea of seeing connections between disciplines, and we have the kinds of kids at Riverdale who get inspired by finding connections and makes them want to dig deeper.
The Summer Science Research Program, what we do is we take a handful of rising juniors and seniors, and we run a real research lab here at the school. Okay, that sounds good.
Summer Science Research Program was my first experience working in something that's definitely along the lines of a professional lab.
This is, I would say, very unique opportunity for high school students to really be contributing to a scientific knowledge base.
I just found that there's no better cause than getting involved in science, helping people to understand the environment and the impact that it has on people. That's something that definitely needs more help, and hopefully I can study that and contribute.
We're trying to get kids to really think about how they develop a global mindset. An important part of that are our exchange programs.
Last March, I went on the first French exchange trip to Bordeaux. We stayed with host families and explored the city. Every day we went to school with them and we had morning classes. It was a different experience, one that a lot of us had never had before.
This spring and summer, we have several trips planned and are proud to offer our first trip to China. I hope you found that interesting, and I hope in the months ahead you'll find time to participate in this wonderful dynamic community that is Riverdale.